Hello everybody, you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. This is the weekly radio show where we chat about the local arts news. We have a different guest on each week. We head over to the Rhylight Zone for a short story and or some poetry, and we catch up with Twangling Jack Ford over in the Oak Shed for a weekly album review. As always, you can find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And we are repeated on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Please do leave us a short review on your podcast platform of choice. It all helps. You can also find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show, you should be able to find us. And you can email me here at the studio on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. Please do get in touch if you would like to be a guest. I'm always looking for new people to chat to. So this week we have got a highlights episode where we're going to be playing some highlights from our recent interviews. But before we do that, we're going to head over to the Rhylight Zone for the latest instalment of Monsters of Rock by myself, Dane Cobain. Chapter 6, The Real Monsters. It took Crazy Dave 3 weeks to finalise the mastering. He'd told Groen that he'd put his own EP on hold so that he could finish off the edits, although the dwarf wasn't so sure about that. It didn't ring true. It seemed more likely that Crazy Dave had been out on the piss with his studio money. Still, the EP sounded great, especially when they played it on the big speakers in Groen's living room. Only Yeva wasn't happy, and that was because she'd thought of a few new backing lines that she wanted to try out. Groen had to admit that they were pretty good, but he didn't mind that they were missing from the album. It gave them an edge, something they could fall back on, something for the live shows. In the meantime, they had a launch party to organise. The band had made a demo before, recording tracks on a cassette recorder in Groen's shed, but that had been so that they had something to play to pub owners. The EP was their first official recording, and they wanted to welcome it to the world with a bang and not a whimper. Luckily, Cedric had them covered with a special gig at the Rose and Crown. He'd even promised to source a special beer from one of the local breweries in the band's honour. On the night of the launch, it turned out to taste like shit, but the brewer was there and everyone was too polite to tell him. Cedric had arranged another surprise for them too. For their earlier shows, the support acts had been singer-songwriters from the university. They were okay for what they were, but they didn't exactly get the crowds going. This time, though, he'd secured something special. "All right, lads?" "And ladies," Yeva murmured. Groen turned to look at the newcomer and wasn't surprised to find that it was Filthy Phil. They hadn't seen each other for a while, but they'd bumped into each other enough on the open mic scene for him to recognise the voice. Phil was dressed up to the nines in his best Black Sabbath t-shirt, with his lank hair dangling down onto his shoulders and his black nail varnish offsetting the gold rings on his pudgy fingers. One of the rings was in the shape of a skull, and it reminded Groen of the hi-hat on Vlad Black's drum kit. "All right, Phil," Groen said. "What are you doing here?" "What do you think I'm doing here?" he replied. "I'm playing with Sandman tonight. We're opening for you." "Nice," Groen said. "What time are you on?" Filthy Phil checked his watch and cursed. "In about 3 minutes," he said. "Don't suppose you got a smoke going spare?" Groen shook his head. "Sorry, pal." It wasn't technically a lie. He had plenty of tobacco, but none of it was going spare. He planned to smoke it all. "Ah, no worries," Phil said. "I should go take a leak and find my drumsticks." Sandman played a tight set and they got the crowd going, especially when they played the song they were named after. It was a relatively new track from Metallica's latest album, but it had the kind of driving guitar riff that had teenagers all over the world trying to learn it in their bedrooms on beat-up acoustic guitars. The Monsters watched them from the side of the stage, except for Gzd, who had been asked to lurk in one of the corners so that the other punters could reach the bar. At one point, as they were launching into For Whom the Bell Tolls, Yeva leaned forward and shouted something into Groen's ear. "What?" he said. "They're pretty good," Yeva repeated, stooping a little to get closer to the dwarf's head. "For humans." Groen laughed. "They'll do, I guess," he said. "I heard that James Hetfield sold his soul to the devil." "Don't be stupid," Yeva said. "The devil doesn't exist." "If he did," Groen replied, "I wonder if he'd come to see one of our shows." Sandman played for an hour or so, helped out by a couple of extra solos in Master of Puppets that stretched it out past the 15-minute mark and kicked off a mosh pit in the middle of the Rose and Crown. When they finished their set, the band went nuts. A bottle smashed on the dance floor and someone started a chant of "more, more," which the rest of the punters quickly picked up on. Groen said. "We need to do something. Any suggestions?" "Ask Sandman to play an encore," Steve suggested. Groen turned to flash him a dirty look, but the zombie barely seemed to notice. I've got a better idea, Groen said. The interval. Vlad, get up there and sort the kit out. Steve will set up our pedals. Yeva, how long do you need to get your keyboard out? Couple of minutes, she said. Then get started, Groen told her. Cuz make sure you're in tune and see if you can find some space. That's the spirit. Let's do this. It took them less than 4 minutes to get ready, but the crowd had already started to dissipate, melting away into the bathrooms and the smoking area. By the time that Groen and the band were halfway through Dark Nightmares, the dance floor had started to fill back up and the soured atmosphere was taking a turn for the better. Groen tried to peer out through the lights to see who was there. He saw faces he'd forgotten about and friends that he didn't know were friends. He also saw plenty of people from the open mic scene who could have been there for either Sandman or the Monsters. In one corner, as far away from the PA as it was possible to get, he saw a couple of his cousins drinking mead from Stella chalices. In another, Filthy Phil was there with the rest of his bandmates, cradling what looked like a shot of whiskey. His mind wandered as his fingers found the familiar chords, the song so routine that he could have played them in his sleep. Tucked away to the right of the stage, just in front of the sound desk, Crazy Dave was selling copies of their CDs and wearing a prototype of a t-shirt that Groen had made in the shed with a screen press. He'd already sold a couple of EPs, and they were still playing the first song. Groen's mind went out just a little too far and he hit a bum note, but it was hidden beneath the distortion and Kuz's pounding bass line helped to carry him. Then it was the final line of the first song and they were finishing with a triumphant crescendo. After the gig, Groen said it was the best show they'd ever played, which was debatable, and that he'd never heard louder applause, which was a lie. Yeva thought that Sandman had gone down better, but she agreed to disagree. It didn't matter to the real Monsters. The only thing that mattered was that they'd sold 36 copies of their debut EP. The rest of that year was relatively uneventful, even though they were barely halfway through it. The band's fame began to spread, or perhaps it was notoriety, it was hard to tell. And after picking up a few bookings in the local area, they started to line up gigs in other parts of the country. By the end of the year, they'd played in Oxford, High Wycombe, St Albans, Newport, Coventry, Wigan and Brighton, although the gigs hadn't been close enough together for them to constitute a tour. That didn't stop Groen from calling it one though. The band was playing a New Year's Eve matinee at a working men's club in the Midlands when they first saw the Orcs. At first, Groen thought they were there for the show, and they were at least polite enough to wait for the band to play before making their move. Groen had stepped outside to smoke his pipe beneath the stairs when he was confronted by the biggest, meanest, toughest looking she'd ever seen. He had a string of purple tribal face tattoos that clashed vividly with his dull green skin, as well as a pair of tacky gold hoop earrings that made him look like he was in fancy dress as a pirate. Worst of all was his necklace, which was made from human fingers on an iron chain, punctuating his neckline like bloodied apostrophes. They'd shriveled up like an old shaman's head in a jar and turned the off-brown colour of tan leather. They smelled like death. There's no need for that, Groen said. Whatever happened to equality? The Orcs snarled and advanced on him, pressing him back against the fence. They were alone out there in the smoking area, and Groen cursed his luck. It was usually rammed out there after a performance, but he'd hung back to talk to the drunks who'd enjoyed the show and who wanted to congratulate him. He'd accepted their congratulations and wrangled a couple of free pints out of them. They'd been a lot easier to deal with than the Orc. "What do you want from me?" Groen asked. His face had turned a deathly pale, and the big black bags beneath his eyes made him look like one of the skeletons that had backed the band at the Phoenix. "Not me," the Orc grunted. "Not me," the Orc grunted. He leaned in closer and leered at the dwarf, saliva dribbling from the corners of his mouth like an overexcited dog on walkies. "Da boss man, him want to see you." "But it's New Year's Eve," Groen protested. "Couldn't you have asked him to book an appointment?" "Him don't do appointments," the Orc said. Groen winced at the unusual grammar, and the bad breath that issued forth from his mouth like a fart from the crack of doom. "Him want see you now." In the distance, Groen could hear the countdown to the new year beginning, but he'd never been one for celebrations. He sighed and shrugged his shoulders, comforted by the fact that he had his trusty battle axe strapped across his back. "Fine," he said. "You win. I'll come with you." That was the latest instalment of Monsters of Rock by myself, Dane Cobain. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound, and this is Kick Goff with Fire.
Tell me now what I'm supposed to know. At now the age that I'm at, though all of my senses they were fading. All of the things that I survey, watch now them all just fade away, as now the world is always changing, and I'm done. As I would sit and contemplate, am I just a little late for all the things that I was dreaming? Oh, I'm now for dear life, till now the glimmer and right, but now I see it slowly fading, and I'm done. Success or failure is so sweet compared to never even trying. Run now and face it all head on. Take now the knocks to make you strong. So why are you still now avoiding? And I'm done.
And a sweetheart too, you better leave that third gal alone. There's no telling what they might do, what damage on you might be sprung. But there was a gal called Emily Green, she was the kindest gal I had ever seen. She went with a man called Pegleg Bill, and though he only had one leg, she loved him still. She met his wife, which she didn't mind, but when she met his outside women, she wasn't so kind. She burst down the board, sliced them both limb from limb, and then put them in his bed and slipped poison in his gin. So if you've got a wife and a sweetheart too, you better leave that gal alone.
was Leave the Third Gal Alone by Big Nose Thomas, and before that we had Fire by Kit Goff. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time for us to have some of our highlights now, where we catch up with previous guests. So this is a highlight of our chat with Big Sky Orchestra.
And we've kind of covered this a little bit. I mean, I guess it's inherent to the nature of the band, but how do you make sure that no two of your shows are the same? I mean, obviously with improvisation, that's going to do it to an extent anyway. But I mean, do you think like, let's make sure that we never play the same set list, or how to keep things fresh?
Yeah, absolutely that. I mean, so obviously as a kind of like we're early in our career really. And we don't have like the discography that maybe like the Grateful Dead has, or Fish. So, we do have to play a lot of kind of our original music quite a lot. And that's where the kind of improvisation of the jams and different kind of evolutions of songs will come in. But we like playing covers as well. We don't kind of identify ourselves as a covers band. The covers we play are always kind of covers that we want to hear, because there's not a lot of people in the UK playing this kind of music. And there's, Grateful Dead music is pretty limited with what you can get. So a lot of the tunes that we play and a lot of the covers that kind of will change up for every set are ones that we want to hear. So we keep making sure that, it's always fresh. We don't often play the same covers every show. Often do different orders and see how things work. And it can be like affected by the markets and the venues that we're playing and where we're playing. And, like if we know, like London's always a fun place to play, we'll have a bit more of an upbeat set. And then, Birmingham, we can kind of push the boat out and get a bit experimental. So yeah, that's how we do it. We change it every time. We just, whatever music we're into as well, we often throw some of those.
Yeah. And you mentioned your originals there. So what does the songwriting process look like to you guys?
It can vary, but I think massively kind of the main way we do it is like one of us will take an idea. We'll come up with an idea at home, record it on our notes, and sorry, my computer's all going off. One of us will take an idea, record it at home, and then we'll bring it to the wider band in the rehearsal room. And it can stretch, like it can be an immediate, and like I've had ideas where it will be like a song from start to finish, and other times it will just be like our tune Manifestation that started with just like me playing around with this riff, and if you listen to the very first notes, audio note that I had on my phone, it's like super slow and super like janky, and then took it to the band, and then it developed into this bigger tune with different sections, and people will add in their own little influences and styles, and then we come up with a finished tune, and even we change that a lot through kind of when we play it live. Like we play a lot of new songs live, we test them out, and then by the time we get to recording, it's completely different.
That was a highlight of our chat with Big Sky Orchestra, and this is here in conversation with local photographer Flux Photographic.
And that was actually, you mentioned self-care there. Like, how does that going on a photo shoot or whatever, how does that sort of fit in with self-care?
I think it fits in if I think it's any self-care is really good, whether it's sitting down and reading a book and taking 5 minutes away from something, or whether it's coming to a photo shoot. So I don't think it always has to be a photo shoot to be self-care, but I think the self-care that comes with a photo shoot is taking that 2 or 3 hours out for yourself to come and be pampered, to have a chat, to have a free space. Where a lot of my shoots, it's not just come, I take the photos and goodbye. It's we'll have a chat before the shoot. We don't stop talking during the shoot. It's like a little therapy session, all the sorts of things that we speak about. And, we laugh a lot, we cry a lot, and it's incredible. It's really difficult to describe, but it's such a different and empowering and wonderful experience. I think you kind of have to do it to understand.
Yeah.
That was a highlight of our chat with local photographer Flux Photographic, and here we are in conversation with author Dora Porcaro.
Yeah,
Awesome. Cool. And I mean, speaking of the setting, I suppose the setting in itself is almost like a character in their own right. What can you tell us about your approach to the setting? You know, where do these stories take place?
Yeah, sure. So the first book actually starts. I've got two of the books that will be in Baltimore. Actually, three of them will be in Baltimore, and one is in Lake Como. So Baltimore was easy for me. I've been there. I have a set point. I write where I've been. That tends to be, I write where I've been. So I have an intimate understanding of it. It was really helpful, of course, having someone like Carmela, who still resides in Baltimore as well as in America. So it's always really handy to have people on point. I do a lot of research as well to make sure that I am giving the best knowledge of Baltimore that I possibly can. And I have followed some really cool people in Baltimore as well. So Baltimore, just for anyone who isn't aware, the Winter Olympics next year, two of the events are actually going to be in Baltimore. So, of course, I've got characters that are ski people, so to speak, who are competitors. And of course, there will be a love interest that is actually a ski champion and maybe might just have to win the Olympics event. Yeah, so that's what I do. I get right into the country, the town that I'm involved in. The main drag that I talk about, Via Roma. Carmela, in fact, worked on Via Roma, and one of the characters actually has the shop that she worked in. So the store that she was working in is all inspired by where she used to work. Yeah.
Awesome.
That was a highlight of our chat with author Dora Porcaro. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Broken Colours with Mirror.
Bright side while I'm inside the dark. I tell people to be strong even when times are hard. I bury myself, I wanna submerge. I'm dishing out advice while I'm sat out on the curb. I bury myself, I wanna submerge. Whoa, it's my time to look in the mirror and to change my errant ways. It's time that I fix relationships over time that I've prayed. It's time to enjoy life again. It's time to let you in. It's time that I should be happy. It's time to love again. It's my book and it's my story. It's my time and it's my glory. The future is for the taking. It's in the palm of your hands, and only you can find it in these derelict lands. Oh, it's my time to look in the mirror and to change my errant ways. It's time that I fix relationships over time that I've prayed. It's time to enjoy life again. It's time to let you in. It's time that I should be happy. It's time to love again. 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 It's my time to look in the mirror and to change my errant ways. It's time that I fix relationships over time that I've frayed. It's time to enjoy life again. It's time to let you in. It's time that I should be happy. It's time to love again.
That was Mirror by Broken Colours. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. And it's time for us to catch up with some more of our catch-ups now. Some highlights of our recent calls. And this is in conversation with musician and artist, Rory Neary.
And you mentioned sort of open mic nights as well. So what are some of the open mic nights that you've performed at?
Oh, so there is the Mad Squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
There is the one done by is it Andy Farrell does the Mad Squirrel one. There's the Stag, which Freedom does. I can't say what the dates are. They're generally a Friday. Bob Newell does an open mic as well. Sometimes the Arts for Everyone, but it's typically the one I kind of end up at is, and there's also one in Bourne End, the Garibaldi, which is also done by Andy as well. And I know there are other open mics as well that you can go to in different directions. I think we're really lucky around here.
Spoiled for choice.
For the amount of open mics. Yeah, we really are. There's and you can get a Marlow and different places. So one of my favourite ones is the Rose and Crown, which is done by Maz Manzini, which I know you did a podcast and a show with him recently. So they're great things to go to. You know, people are loving the music as well.
Cool. That was a highlight of our chat with musician and artist Rory Neary, and here we are in conversation with Dani Brown, the Queen of Filth. Filth. I got there in the end.
Cool. So you mentioned sort of working with publishers. Can you talk us about your publishing team? So maybe start off with who you work with as you were self-publishing, and then some of the publishers that you're either working with or hoping to work with in the coming years.
Well, I had started off with publishers because I didn't have the means to self-publish. I always wanted to self-publish, and I started self-learn during the lockdowns because there's nothing else to do, and it was good at first, and I really enjoyed it, but it's too much work because I work full-time as well, and it's having to do everything yourself. And then there starts to be a bit of drama and stuff in the horror community. I'm like, okay, when I was with a publisher before, there were terms in the contract, no drama, no doing this, no doing that. I'm like, I kind of feel like I need that barrier between me and some people. So I've recently started sending out short stories and stuff. So luckily, Crystal Cook, who's published several of my short stories, has decided she wants to publish some longer stuff. So I'll be restarting my journey with a publisher with her. I'm currently working on 2 books because I work on books at least in pairs. So there's one in final draft and one's in first draft. And so she'll be getting those both within the next few weeks. I'm like, you don't have to publish both of them. And I'll be sending you, especially in the run up to Christmas, a lot more. So pick and choose what you want. And then what you don't want, you can recommend a publisher to me and say, I don't want to publish this. I've just published something similar, or I don't like this book, but here's who would. Or, or I can just set it to the side. Try not to forget about it. Something happens. And wait, just look at open calls, maybe find an agent. So we're starting Crystal Cook and then going from there. But as I say, she won't, it's not realistic for her to publish everything I'm going to send her.
Yeah. And you mentioned, obviously, your full-time job, you've got your family life, you've got not just writing books, then editing books, marketing them as well. How do you balance all of this stuff? Or is it just a case of every 5 minutes you've got here and there, you're working on something?
Well, I wake up at like 6, so I wake up an hour before I really have to wake up to write. So I'm writing in the mornings before work, and I usually have a notebook on me, and at work they know I'm a writer. So, and they'll see sometimes scribbles of ideas I have for fiction. So, and I'll write any ideas and stuff I have at home. I recently switched to the Microsoft 365. So if I get any really great ideas that flow really well in the story, I just put the notes directly in the story from my phone, that's quite convenient. Actually, I keep forgetting I have that's easier than either using the notes feature on the phone, or I used to carry around index cards.
Yeah.
So I do that. And then when I get home, it's just cooking dinner and making sure my son's okay.
Yeah.
And Eric to do it all the next day. On the weekends, especially because my child's 16 now. So at the age where they're pulling away from family life. So
Yeah.
I have quite a bit of time to write at the weekends.
That was a highlight of our chat with Dani Brown, Queen of Filth, and here we are in conversation with Sabiene North, who is a runner friend and CEO of Be Free Young Carers.
Well, there's a few things I want to chat to you about today. The first thing is your work with Be Free Young Carers. So could you tell us a little bit about the organisation?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a small charity based on Harwell campus, which is a big science park, just up the road from us. And we cover the whole of Oxfordshire for supporting young carers. So they're children aged between 8 and 17 years old that also have the main caring role for either a parent or sibling. So it can be a child caring for a mum with mental health conditions, or it can be a child caring for a severely autistic brother. And we support them by providing respite activities. We've got a school holiday programme all planned out for them. So we do respite activities. We also do one-to-one emotional support. We do counselling for them, and we have a befriending service that are run by volunteers. We really just let them be children and support them in their role. It's not, obviously, I'd love us not to exist, because then young carers wouldn't exist, but that's not going to happen. So what we do is we try and support and advocate for them as much as we can.
Cool. And is there anything in particular that you think would surprise people about young carers? You know, maybe the number of them that there are, or some of the, you know, some of the conditions that their parents might have that they're supporting with, some of the things they do?
Yeah, so I think the statistic for our county is that there's at least 2 young carers in every classroom in Oxfordshire, which is phenomenal. And there are young carers that might not know that they're young carers, so they will go about doing the job and role that they do, not knowing that that's not the norm for children to do. And they go unnoticed. They're normally quite well behaved in classrooms, but they're statistically, they're likely to be the most absentee group from school, most likely to be suspended, most likely not to receive any attainment when they go to secondary school. So yeah, the statistics are pretty shocking.
Yeah. And how can people get involved? I mean, I'm sure you're looking for, as you mentioned, some of the volunteering opportunities. So from both a volunteering and a fundraising point of view, how can people get involved with you guys?
Yeah, so there's so many opportunities. With regards to volunteering, we've got the Abingdon Marathon aid station we're doing this weekend coming. People can get involved with that. We're setting up our employability program, so people with skills in their employment can help give back to those children that don't necessarily have the same advantages that we have. So for work experience placements, and interviewing techniques, CV writing, skills like that they can give to a young carer are vital, because normally it's the parent that nurtures the child on their career journey, and if their parents are cared for, they don't necessarily have the business contacts or anything like that. So that's one way of getting involved. We've also got fundraising. So this weekend just gone, we've had the Oxford Half. We sometimes get London Marathon places. So there's a lot of running. Obviously, that's one of my loves as well. But there's loads of ways that they can get involved with our befriending service or volunteering on our school holiday programme. So if they go to our website, which is www.befreeyc.org.uk, there's more details of how you can get involved from there, yeah.
That was a highlight of our chat with Sabiene North of Be Free Young Carers. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Maz Manzini with Rain.
getting harder. You feel it rising. The only escape is just too frightening to consider. A mind of thunder, spirit lightning, crashing slowly, 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 slowly down. Ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, yeah. Ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, yeah, yeah. Ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, yeah. Ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, ba-bow, dee-dee-dee, ba-bow, dee-dee-dee.
Got my head down on the tracks, eyelids full of rain. When the sun keeps shining for someone else, I fight this hurricane. Don't keep telling me to smile, I won't waste a smile again. Do you have the facts to make a lie, or the courage to remain? There's nothing like rain on a Sunday. Get you in a Monday sort of mood. Alone and in the dark, you got me on my knees. Take me to a star way out in space. One-way ticket, please. There's nothing like rain on a Sunday. Get you in a Monday sort of mood. No, there's nothing like rain on a Sunday. Get you in a Monday sort of mood.
was Jazz DeLorean with Rain on a Sunday, and before that we had Maz Manzini with Rain. You're probably noticing a theme here. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time for us to head over to the Oak Shed now to catch up with Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review.
Joni Mitchell, Blue. Blue is an album that has been on my radar forever, but I have been in no hurry to confront it. I do have a Joni Mitchell compilation, which has what I presumed were all the songs I really needed. I needed to have Big Yellow Taxi and Clouds in their original form, but I prefer Matthew Southern Comfort's version of Woodstock even over the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young version. This album has the song This Flight Tonight, which for me will always be a Nazareth song. I always knew it was a Joni Mitchell song, but though at the time I liked blues rock, I liked it when blues rock bands did something folky, like Thin Lizzy did with Whiskey in the Jar. So the Joni Mitchell version to me, in comparison, sounds a bit confusing. She has an original way of playing guitar, there are the odd tunings, and the way she doesn't really strum or fingerpick but does a bit of both. So along with that guitar playing and her non-straightforward singing, I often need to hear her songs numerous times to fully understand what is going on. Whereas the covers simplify everything, losing the ornate embellishments and making the melodies and structures much more obvious. I have always admired Joni Mitchell's songwriting, but my big fear was that I just would not like this album. And I knew I would pressure myself to like it. However, it came time to face the daunting task of allowing the whole thing into my life when I found a copy in the Florence Nightingale charity shop in Beaconsfield for only £1. £1 seemed to be an insult to such an acclaimed work, especially as it shared space with overpriced vinyl. I must say in places this album moved me to tears, and in places I found it very uplifting. But that's all very well, but often I want music to numb me and calm me down. I used not to be interested in what became known as unplugged music, songs accompanied just by acoustic guitar or piano. I had little time for early Dylan, Leonard Cohen or Simon and Garfunkel's Wednesday Morning 3 AM. I wanted drums and bass on my Sounds of Silence. I have never really been able to like Nick Drake. However, since I've become a Billy No Mate solo act with just me and my acoustic Ibanez, I am showing more interest in the masters of the genre. I might also have been afraid of Joni Mitchell unrestrained by a band, with nothing to counter the sudden swoops of her melodies and tame her arrangements that can sometimes seem to be almost random. And also it is so feminine, and I prefer lyrics to be more general. I used to hear the song Carey a lot on the radio. It is catchy and easy to follow and has percussion and backing vocals, so it is probably the best place to start the album, though it is notably not track one. As a romantically challenged schoolboy, I often felt this song was very much not aimed at me. Only a woman could have deemed that a successful outing required him to get his cane and for her to put on some silver. For Joni Mitchell, minor details seemed to be central to the story. I was at an age when I wanted to hear about party dresses, high-heel sneakers and blue suede shoes. And when Joni sings about him being a mean old daddy, I thought she was just looking for trouble and wondered why she could not just go and look for a nice guy. She sings about her old man, and it was an era where her old man would have called her his lady. This album is very much of its time, and she uses the language and philosophy of the hippie, though on one song she sings about how giving peace a chance was just a dream some of us had. Joni sings the words we used to hear from all the wise women we knew at the end of the cheesecloth and joss stick hippie era. Girls who called themselves witch and gypsy, Shakti Yoni or even Abraxas in Stevie Nicks' floaty lace. Forever in the friendship zone, offering truisms as balm to our sorrows. Ideas that we all knew had failed them in their romantic troubles. Joni Mitchell seems so sensitive, and knowing as we do her romantic history, It is surprising that she has survived what must have been some devastating breakups. She seems to approach romance so optimistically, but it is always a triumph of optimism over experience, and she is so articulate in her descriptions. It is an album of moving lyrics, which are so confessional that in these days she would probably be accused of oversharing. Perhaps the most moving is the song Little Green, in which she sings to the daughter that she had to give up for adoption. It may also have one of her best melodies. I think I best understand the piano tracks. The piano is much more solid and grounded than the guitar. I like that she does not play rock piano, those Elton John and Billy Joel block chords elaborated by fourths and sixths and country thirds. But rather, to me at least, her playing sounds a bit more classical, bit more Debussy or Stravinsky. On the song My Old Man, the piano takes a strange harmonic turn, unlike anything else I can think of. It is an album that deserves all the praise it gets, and I am glad to now have these songs in my head. Blue, Joni Mitchell.
Big thank you to Twangly Jack Ford for this week's album review. Thank you to everyone whose highlights I've shared, everyone whose music I've shared. As always, you can find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And we are repeated on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Please do leave us a short review on your podcast platform of choice. It all helps. You can also reach out to me here at the studio by dropping me a line on dane.cobain at wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain at wickhamsound.org.uk. And I'm particularly keen to hear from poets, performers, musicians, people with local arts news, people who'd like to be a guest on the show. Don't hesitate to get in touch. So I'm going to leave you with one last tune, and this is Vicky Roy with Adrift. I'll catch you next week.
Secret places in my head, the words I wanted to write for you, and every tune I wish I knew. And the time we lose to sleep, the songs, melodies to make.